Okay, my friends, I never give medical advice whatsoever, but I am going to be speaking about skin cancer and tattoos and the research about it. Not telling you to do this or do that. No medical advice here whatsoever. Strictly research. Okay, my friends, coincidences, I can't believe there's many coincidences happen to me that are just coincidental. I'm just doing a thing about fascia and immunities and invasive diseases and all that, and this pops up, just popped right up. Could a tattoo raise your risk of skin cancer? Twin studies suggest a link. And I'm also doing twin studies on autism and other invasive diseases. Do both twins have the same? Well, anyway, we're going to get into it deeply because they did some research on this. Now, I know a little bit about this because when I first made my paper about fascia being a fluid-filled highway, I was corresponding with some guys at the Fascia Institute in Germany. And they told me that they were finding tattoo residue on the membranes of, I can't remember, what was some kind of organ. And I don't recall if they said they were finding a lot of organs or just a specific organ. I forgot all about that. Then that would be interesting if these tattoo inks, whatever it was. I think they were talking about a black ink at this time, and I can't remember. Maybe it was like around a lung or something. I don't know, but or it could have been anywhere, everywhere. It's just accumulated somewhere. But normally these molecules are going to be attractive to certain types of tissues. And I believe that virtually every membrane surrounding every organ basically has a separate different type of tissue, because it either has to expand and contract, or it has to be rigid, or it has to be adverse to salts or acids or whatever. It has to work with blood and a transfer of metals and so forth. Those are all tissue-oriented specifics. And all of that stuff is done by bacteria. Now, what does the tattoo ink do to the bacteria? Because the bacteria create the enzymes. The enzymes are the things that make your body work. Without an enzyme, you're going to fall over dead. You'd be dead in 10 minutes. If you didn't have the enzymes in you right now, you'd be dead in 10 minutes. And why? Because an enzyme works at the speed of light, literally. It speeds up chemical reactions by millions, even billions of times. Okay, sorry about that. I'm being called away, but we're going to just continue right on. Just stay with me. Okay, this is semi-vital flesh. It's been a little bit invaded. The surface has been dissolved, and you can see the veins, the black ones. These are the arteries, the big heavy-duty ones. Then you can see the blood vessels which come off of the main arteries. They come down to the capillaries that dump their contents into the black veins, which absorb it. Now, I said I can show you this in extreme detail, and I will. Let's look at what happens here after it leaves the artery. It comes down through the blood vessels. They service the tissue that's in that area. When it's done with all of its contents that is edible, it dumps the remainder into the veins. The veins are porous. They're completely porous. It absorbs the blood fluids back into that vein in its complete length. It doesn't just suck out at the very end. It's a continuous porous tube. Now, right down here is where the capillaries are, coming off of the blood vessels. You see it coming down here? They dump it into here. Now, what is all these little tiny lines? You see all these little tiny lines? Let's sink in for a second. Don't forget, this is taking all the trash back to be fixed back up. Those little bitty lines are the lymphatic system, the lymph tubes, the lymph ducts. They're so tiny that the only thing in them is enzymes, ribosomes, bacteria, single-celled things. And they're saturated with enzymes, absolutely saturated. And that is your protective layer. All right, so if we break through this layer, we're invading this tissue that's underneath. In this particular case, it hasn't invaded through there. So we're looking at a fairly pristine vascular network. Vascular means blood vessels and arteries, veins. Now, if this was attacked with a toxin, and when I say a toxin, a venom, or something that this does not want in the body. Now, we're talking about tattoos. Tattoos, they must make that ink sort of inert so that it really doesn't. They claim that they're big enough particles that the skin, the lymph cannot attack it. So it surrounds it and keeps it in your skin and it doesn't go anywhere. Well, under perfect conditions, that may very well be. But if the body rejects it for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason would be, but if the body simply rejects it, what would it look like in that condition? We see it in a pristine condition where the blood is coming in, it's being filtered, it's being dumped into the veins to come back to be refreshed. What if it was being seriously attacked by some toxins? Okay, my friends, I just want to show you something. I don't want to scare anybody, but this is just how the human body works. That's how I work. I'm a material scientist, researcher. I present things. Sometimes they upset people, sometimes they don't. Let's see if this is upsetting, and if it is upsetting, is there anything we can do to reduce that? This is invasion. This green is a toxin. It's a reptile toxin invading flesh of a creature's body. And you see, these are all the little blood vessels and all that. They're being killed. And that lymph fluid is actually literally attacking the toxin to try to remove it, to save the body so that it doesn't kill the blood vessels and so forth. And it's bringing it over to the lymph nodes, and it's killed the lymph nodes. So this is something that's never been seen before, I guarantee you. And I'm going to show you tissue that's not being invaded, tissue that is being invaded. Then we're going to talk about what happens with tattoo ink that gets through and gets into this level. Is that an issue? That's what we're looking into. And if it is an issue, what can we do to resolve that issue? That's where I go. I don't just say, oh, we got a problem and walk away from it. I want to know, well, what can we do to resolve it if it is an issue? And it does appear that there's some level of concern here. So let's just dig into it. It's about tattoos, and everybody's getting them now. I see people just covered with them. And, like I say, I'm a biological person. I look into the deep research of this. What's his effect on the human body? It's not supposed to be there, and it is there now, and some of it leaks in. We know this now, that it's being collected on some of the organs. Is that an issue? I don't know. This is absolutely fascinating. Wait till you hear the statistics. 32% of American people have a tattoo, including 22% who have more than one. Some people have them just their entire body, almost. Now, tattoos have become more common sight in the workplace. You see it everywhere now. I think it's more than that percentage, but who knows? Where do you see the statistics in a difference of, well, let's look at the statistics. This just blew my mind. All right, so why should you even listen to me? Do I have any expertise in this? I think I do. This goes back to 2015. I discovered this fascia-facilitated fossilization, which is the way my fossils were preserved because of this particular layer. And I claimed right here, fascia is a tubular, fluid-filled fabric network. Instantly reconfigures itself if it's damaged or pulled apart. It appears as if fiber optic wired network is redirecting the broken fibers and sending the fluids to where they have to go, all by itself. Somehow it's intelligent. I believe fascia is the fiber optic style network in creatures as it connects to every cell and is a complete system. It's a fabric, a fluid filled highway. And this is primarily about how it protected and created mud fossils, but nobody knew about this layer. It's called interstitium now. Okay, this is when this was made public, that it was a full-fledged organ, basically. Interstitium, this layer that I was talking about before, this fluid-filled highway, scientists say they discovered a new organ. Interstitium was right there under our noses all along, but it took a new way of examining the tissues to figure it out. Well, it was right there, and I brought it to the attention of all of these guys that were studying fascia, because they were looking at fascia as a sports injury type of thing, that it was connective tissue to them. To me, it was this layer that nobody could explain. And they say they studied it published Tuesday. They may have stumbled upon a previously unknown organ, one of the biggest in the human body, and one that could significantly advance our understanding of cancer and many other diseases. Now, this is only 2018 now. So I had already had a few years studying this stuff, and studying with people around the world that were the only ones that were studying it. And it suggests that network of dense connective tissues and fluid-filled compartments called interstitium is a full-fledged organ. That is a group of tissues with a unique structure performing a specialized task. Yes, this layer is your attack dog. It's your immune system. If you get past that layer into your good tissue, you're in trouble. That layer is a boundary line of invasion. It's the front lines. You get through that, and you better have some troops coming to attack the invaders. You're going to get poked through that interstitium occasionally. You're going to get injuries, a little knife wound, you go in a knife fight and somebody jabs you, something like that. You're going to always get that torn up, no question whatsoever, but you should have a fluid-filled network to come so quickly and attack that it saves your life. And if you don't have the right bacteria in that fluid-filled highway, you're done. You're not going to be able to attack the invaders. Okay, here's a little video that goes along with this. Here goes.
Today's findings could eventually mean big changes for the way doctors confront cancers and other deadly diseases. A group of scientists believes it's discovered an elaborate path of fluid-filled tissues that makes up a previously unknown organ called the interstitium, found just below the skin and surrounding critical body systems.
Now, before I continue with this is where it comes in with the tattoo ink flowing through this fluid-filled system. Let's just start again. This isn't very long, so let's get back to here.
These could eventually mean big changes for the way doctors confront cancers and other deadly diseases. A group of scientists believes it's discovered an elaborate path of fluid-filled tissues that makes up a previously unknown organ called the interstitium, found just below the skin and surrounding critical body systems.
The whole thing is the interstitium.
NYU lead researcher Dr. Neil Fease.
It turns out that this wasn't just an isolated finding, it was all a single network of fluid-filled spaces that sort of ensheathed the body.
Carrying 20% of the body's total fluid volume, the interstitium would be the body's biggest organ, what researchers call fluid-filled highways, acting as a sort of shock absorber around the digestive, respiratory, and urinary systems. Researchers say the fluid
what he just said, like a shock absorber. No, when I first started, they said this fascia layer that I was asking about, nobody could explain it. They said, oh, that's just padding. I'm not kidding you. They called it fuzz. Let's go back here and listen again. You heard him say it's a fluid-filled highway. It does the whole body. Here goes.
Organ, what researchers call fluid-filled highways, acting as a sort of shock absorber around the digestive, respiratory, and
It's not a shock absorber. This is the thing. They still don't understand what it does. It is the immune pathway. It's a pathway for all the immune responders. It's like a highway to get to wherever you're getting invaded. And they send this lymph fluid, which is saturated with enzymes and bacteria and so forth, that can attack these invaders and kill them before they can get in to take root and become invasive cancers and so forth. So it's not just padding, and that's what they originally thought, it was just padding.
urinary systems. Researchers say the fluid itself is rich in protein and seems to...
Protein is the enzymes. The enzymes are the things that protect you in your immune system. They just don't understand it, and they still don't understand it yet.
flow to the lymph system. That may explain how tumors can spread so quickly through the body.
See, this is where they don't understand it. They think it sends the tumor somewhere else. No. If you don't have the enzymes in your body, the tumor can happen here, and if it happens here, it's likely invading some other place because you can't protect yourself there either. It's not that they're sending a piece of this bad tumor to somewhere else to start growing. No. It's growing somewhere else because you can't protect that area either. They just don't understand.
And once we know how that happens in detail, then we can start targeting parts of that process to maybe inhibit tumor spread.
If doctors could target this new organ, the opportunities could be endless.
Exactly. And that's what I have been doing. I've been trying to get somebody to pay attention to the invasiveness of certain types of bacteria. Unless you have a bacteria to fight back, it'll just go right through that membrane because the membrane has nothing to defend itself with. It's all about bacteria and enzymes. I'm going to show you this. And the same thing with these tattoos. If these tattoos are being rejected, this stuff, and it can't break it down, why can't it break it down? Can we find some bacteria that will, some enzyme that will break that stuff down and get it out of the body? Because if it starts accumulating, it's going to kill your lymph nodes. And I can show you this in so much detail. No doctor in the world has ever seen the detail I've seen.
This could be huge because for once we're finally figuring out there's these connections in parts of the body that we didn't know exist before, and this could lead to treatments for diseases that up until now have just been mysteries to us.
While some scientists have expressed skepticism that the interstitium is its own organ, already tonight speculation that med school anatomy books may soon include a new chapter. Tom?
They do right now. Okay, so back to my paper, because this is important to understand this. Now, this was 2015, and I wrote in here, it appears fascia may be much more than simple fuzz, as doctors often refer to it. They just cut it out and threw it away, basically, when they would call it padding. It's nothing, it was inert. And I was working with people over in Germany, University of Ulm, and some other, I worked with everybody that had any abilities here, and there was very few. Now, what there are, listen, there are over 20 types of collagens and keragens. Some protect from acids, others from caustic, others from mineralizations, for strength, a variety of amazing things. These fibers are infused with silicon. These are the fibers that go through the whole body. It's like elastic sheets, creating fiber and elastins and sheets, wrap everything individually. Every single organ is wrapped in a little plastic bag, if you want to think of it that way. Now, I have also discovered since then that there's two little tiny tubes that run between each one of these plastic bags. And I have some shots of that from my microscopic shots. I had all this stuff done in 2015. Like I say, 2015. Now, we jump up to this here. Somebody saw my research. I know they did, because they're saying the exact same thing I said. A federal panel of elite scientists reported in 2016, and now they point out 2016 because that's a year after my research, focusing on the immune system, because that's what I said. I said this stuff is critical for your immunities. You got 20 different keragens and keratins. They all protect from all these different substances. If they're not in good order, if they're leaking, you're in trouble. You're going to get invaded, and that's it. You're going to get cancer or whatever invasive disease. So they said focusing on the immune system key to finding highly effective treatments for cancer. They were just thinking about cancer. I was thinking about all invasive diseases, and every disease there is invasive unless you could break your leg or something. And even the infections are related to invasion and inflammation and destruction of tissue. And you should not have your tissues destroyed if you have the ability to fight back. One guy gets the same injury, and one guy heals in a couple of weeks, he's fine. The next guy never gets better. Why did this guy get better? He had the troops to come in and fight off the invaders. This guy had nothing. They just set up shop in the guy's body, and for the rest of his life, he was living with this chronic disease. Now, the tattoo inks could be considered a chronic disease. If your body does not want that in you, that is a chronic condition, lasts forever. You can't stop it. Your body has not got the ability to fight back. If we could determine what these things, and I know there's going to be issues here. I can tell you, no question whatsoever, there is going to be issues with some people. And I would say it's people that don't have a good immune system are totally at risk. People that have a good immune system, I don't know if that's going to work either. We may have to supplement at some point something that dissolves these inks or does something. And we could probably do all kinds of different tests. They don't have to be done inside of a person's body, not necessarily. You could put tissues in petri dishes and all have the same fluids and everything, and then see what affects what. Now, I'm going to show you how the immune system literally works in a creature that was being attacked. Now, this goes back to 2023. This was the latest survey they did. Which Americans are most likely to have a tattoo? Listen, it's women. When I saw that, I said, whoa, I always see the men. I mean, a lot of women do have them, but I always thought it was more men. But anyway, Black Americans, younger adults among the most likely to have tattoos. The younger adults, yes, I see that. Women, I wouldn't have thought that. Black Americans, I don't know. I would have gone 50-50 on that, but who knows? Listen to this. They go through all the gender. 38% of women have at least one tattoo. 38%, compared with only 27% of men. And then it goes on to race and ethnicity. 39% of Black Americans have a tattoo. 35% of Hispanic. 32% of white. 14% Asian. Ages, how old they are. Adults under 50 especially likely to have a tattoo, and then it goes on different ages. Education. Now listen to this. 37% of those with college education or less education have with some college or less education have a tattoo, compared with 24% of those with a bachelor's degree. So bachelor's degree people have less than people that are less what they call educated. Now, 21% of those with a postgraduate degree, so it keeps dropping as the more educated you become. Now, income, 43% of lower income adults have a tattoo. That's 43%, that's a lot, compared with 31% of those middle income and 21% higher income. Religion, 41% of religiously unaffiliated adults have at least one tattoo, compared with 29% who affiliate with a religion. That's kind of interesting. Sexual orientation. About half of lesbians, gay, or bisexual Americans have at least one tattoo. Well, who did this study anyway? The share is especially high among women in this group. 68% of tattooed, including 55% who have more than one tattoo. By comparison, 31% of straight Americans have at least one tattoo. Okay. There are no major differences by political party or whether Americans live in an urban, suburban, or rural community. A third of Democrats, where did they get this from? What are the least common reasons for getting a tattoo? This is crazy. Some tattooed Americans have regrets. Well, you have regrets about everything. Which untattooed Americans are most likely to get a tattoo in the future? This is pretty deep into the study of tattoos. Now let's see what they actually do to your body. That's where I'm looking. This is very interesting, but you know, it's you know, this is demographics. Who gets them? Why do they get them? Are they happy? Are they unhappy? Da, da, da. Well, what's happening to the body? This is where I work, in the fascia. And this is where this stuff works, in the fascia. Fascia is something I actually discovered the interstitial layer that is what drags that ink around through the body. They found out the ink is getting dragged around through the body. It's supposed to stay up above that layer, and it doesn't in all cases. And I don't know whether it's the application, it's the material they're using, because they have all these ink formulas now. And where does it go in the body, and what is it attached to? Is it uniform throughout the body? Is there specific deposits here and there? Or, you know, does it cause lesions? Does it cause psoriasis and all, you know, skin conditions? Because there is this huge fluid-filled highway that blankets everything in your body, every organ, every muscle, every tendon, your eyeballs, everything. Even blood cells have membranes around them. Those membranes are supposed to keep everything out that's not supposed to get in. What's the story with the tattoo inks? Are they being kept out? Are they being let in? Do they have any effect on the immune system? Is the immune system trying to attack them? And it appears it is. All right, this is that fluid-filled highway. This is from March of 2018. Scientists said, a study published Tuesday, they have stumbled on a previously unknown organ. Well, they stumbled on my research is what they did, because I showed this organ was a fluid-filled highway. And it's everywhere. It's on every single body part that I could find, had that same layer, and they didn't know about it. So I contacted people from Germany and all around the world about this and what they knew about it. Nobody knew anything about it, other than the fact that one of them tipped me off to say, well, we don't understand it, but we do know that people that have tattoos, sometimes the ink is down in their organs. And I thought to myself, yikes, I wonder how that happened. And but it all fit together with my fluid-filled highway description. I realized that ink was getting down where it shouldn't be, into that fluid-filled highway, getting transported around. Now, does it deposit somewhere? Is it just a thin film that goes everywhere? That's going to be of a major importance to understand what certain substances attract certain other molecules at certain organs and so forth. Because some of them are going to be acidic, some are going to be salty, some of them are going to have a lot of real invasive enzyme activity going on. All of that stuff plays a part in where these ink molecules will end up adhering. Because that's what's going on, apparently. They're going through the system and they're attaching to some fascia somewhere or everywhere. These are what we have to discover. Is it everywhere or is it just somewhere? Is it causing liver cancer or lung cancer? Appears that it might be causing skin cancer. That's the melanoma. And that's the reason skin cancer is cancerous, is because the lymph nodes are what deal with extra toxins. The lymph nodes is skin cancer, melanoma. And I'm going to show you this, and I can actually show you this happening. First time in history. All right, this is just a little background to get us started so we can see what they have to say. I have new information about the interstitial highway, the fluid-filled highway, that they may not understand, and I am trying to understand myself. Is it a continuous, homogeneous fluids everywhere, or is the fluid different in different organs? Because different organs have different chemistry, acidity, saltiness, all kinds of different things. So I would assume the fluids surrounding them will have some differences. And will they become attractive to certain types of ink? But I don't know if that's true or not. We need to do some research. And there's such a huge number of people that have tattoos. I think we should do the research and get started right away. Because I think I have some things to add that might be helpful to people that have certain conditions associated to tattoos, if they do. I don't know if they do or not. This is what we're doing research. So tattoo research currently focuses primarily on the potential health risks associated with getting tattoos, particularly the link between tattoo ink and an increased risk of cancers, certain types of cancers, like lymphoma. Certainly you would expect, if they was doing any cancer, lymphoma would be the first target, because the lymph nodes are what cleans out extra debris. And if the body considers that stuff debris, they will be continuously overworking. So the lymphoma is a possibility here. And it's due to the possibility of ink particles accumulating in lymph nodes and triggering chronic inflammation within the immune system. Anytime anything is overloaded, stressed, injured, primarily the membranes are being stressed, it creates inflammation. And that's in your immune system. Now, the research is ongoing, further studies to establish a definitive causal relationship, understand the exact mechanisms involved. Now, they always preface everything that way. It doesn't matter what they're talking about. More research, we need more research. So, and they do. They need to do some research at least. I don't know how much has been done. I haven't seen a lot. But I'm going to show you what I have seen and what I think it means or doesn't mean. All right, this is extremely rudimentary, simple to understand, very simple. It's only like 30 seconds long. Now, the guy's going in to get a tattoo. They're going to explain how it works. Here goes.
What happens when you get a tattoo? The tattoo machine's needle makes tiny holes in your skin.
All right, it makes tiny holes in your skin. Now, it's supposed to only go into the skin. If it gets down into the interstitium, it's already being traveled through your body. And I don't know how they can regulate this perfectly, to be honest. Here goes.
Skin.
See? And the ink.
And ink floods in.
All right, so now the ink is in there. So it's not supposed to get into this layer. I don't know how they keep it away. What if that guy shot over here and he had, this layer was up, I don't know. But anyway, they put the ink in there, and then your body is supposed to sequester this. It's supposed to keep it locked up. Here's what he says. Here it goes.
Your body is immediately alerted and sends an army of fighters called macrophages.
All right, the macrophages, these are white blood cells, basically. And they go out to try to eat that stuff up and get it out of there. Well, it can't eat that stuff up because it's designed not to be edible.
To battle the invaders. They try to destroy the ink, but it's too tough. So instead of giving up, the fighter cells do something clever. They surround the ink and lock it up like prisoners in a dungeon, making sure they stay there forever to keep you safe. What happened?
Well, they obviously don't stay there forever, and maybe they were punctured through into the interstitium right away. One way or the other, I don't care what they say, they don't stay there forever. In all cases, that's 100% for certain. They knew this back in 2015. I was told they were finding these inks in the body. So this has been known for 10 years at least, that they don't get locked up and stay there. Now, where do they go? Do they accumulate in certain organs because that organ is coated with a certain type of chemistry that is easily invaded by these molecules? I don't know. These are the things we should be able to determine and find out. What if a guy is all tattooed, he dies in a car accident, whatever, and they could check the different organs to see what is the accumulation of these tattoo inks. That's fairly simple to do, I would think. And in addition to doing that, at the same time, we would know what different types of fascia and the different types of kerogens and keratins are coating every different type of organ. Because they're elastics, they're coatings, they're fabrics. Some of them can do this: your lungs, your heart, your kidneys to some degree, your bladder. There's things that do this, and there's other things that don't do that ever. That's the size of them. They don't go to, so you got different kerogens, different keratins, different attractiveness of molecules. All right, this gets into chemistry, biology, anatomy. It's all the whole shooting match, and it all starts with dipole electron flood theory, which is the whole way that molecules attach to each other. We got to really get right back to physics before we can understand tattoos. Okay, my outstanding friends. We're going to be talking about tattoos. And they are in a layer of skin that is supposed to stay away from the rest of the body. Well, they have found out that that's not necessarily been the case. And is this dangerous? This is the new area of research that they're looking into, because they have exploded the number of people with tattoos. I was shocked at the statistics, really. But anyway, you see them all over the place. Now everybody's getting them. What we need to do is see, is this a good thing, a bad thing, a doesn't matter thing? If it was a bad thing, is there anything we can do about it? That's where I come in. I always try to figure out a solution to things, because there is a solution to almost everything. If it will be allowed or not allowed, that's the question. Will it be investigated or not investigated? That's the question. Can I present evidence to support a position that should be investigated? That's another good question. Let's start by starting from the beginning. What about tattoos? How do they work? What happens with that ink? And how is it injected, and where is it supposed to stay in the body to make a nice, crisp, tattoo? This is not a simple thing to do. I don't think. I don't have any tattoos, and I'm never going to have one. But I look into things, and I don't think it's a real simple thing. I guess we just have to look into it. All right, my friends. I have been looking into invasive diseases, which means they cross a barrier and they get into your vital flesh. These are invasive bacteria primarily, and chemistry, venoms, and so forth. Now, everybody's getting these tattoos. They're all over the place now. There's a huge number of them. To the body, would that be considered an invasion? Let's look into this, because I've done a lot of research on it, over 10 years now, working on the fascia. It was not even a part of the research whatsoever. They just considered it packing material long ago. And when I did the study on it, I found out there was like 20 different types of kerogens and keratins, which are fabrics that coat things. And they all have a different chemistry. We're going to get in a little deep on this, because, this is pretty serious, because they're finding out that some of these tattoos appear to be related to melanoma primarily, which is skin cancer, which is the lymph node cannot respond to this to try to clean up. The lymph nodes clean up debris that's in your body, and apparently they're trying to get rid of this tattoo ink that's gone beyond its barrier and is considered debris, and they're being overwhelmed, and at that point you end up with carcinoma, lymph node cancer, because they can't do their job anymore. Let's look into this. I don't want to scare anybody, but I also want to do research on this, and I have to present my case so that you understand there is things that can be done if this is dangerous. If it's dangerous, well, you want to do something about it if you can. That's where I come in. That's what I like to do, is try to figure out, is there a solution to something? I probably have a mental issue with that, but that's just what I like to do. So let's see if we can understand it, first of all. Secondly, is it harmful? And if it is there anything we can do about it? Okay, so we have just seen, semi-pristine tissue. This is invasion right here. This is reptile toxin. It's a venom. And it's invading this tissue here, and it's killing it. And what's happening is this is the interstitial fluid, the lymph, and it's going to absorb this to bring it down to the lymph nodes. Now don't forget, here's the attack. And it's sweeping in and picking all that stuff up. And if we can sweep in real close, you can see it's grabbing whatever these particles are that are invading. And it's carrying them down in a stream, filtering down to the lymph nodes. These are lymph nodes. Now, the fluids are coming around here pretty much to this side, and they're supposed to get cleaned up, I believe, on this side, it appears to me. And then they exit here cleaned up. Well, they're not exiting cleaned up, they're being killed. The lymph node itself is being killed. You see how this is black looking coming out? This is pink looking coming in. It should be coming out pink, I believe. That's my belief. And I don't think anybody knows one way or the other at this moment. But this itself was the primary factory that dealt with all of this nasty, nasty stuff. And it had filters. You see the filters? But it could not save itself from the invasion, and it killed the bacteria that resided inside these lymph nodes. The lymph nodes are factories. I'm going to show you the factory right now. And when that factory, all the workers are dead, which are the bacteria that create the enzyme, it killed them. So what are they doing? They're squirting out dead stuff. All right, so it appears to me, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. It doesn't look like I am. It's coming in this way, and it's supposed to clean it up and send it back out that way, and it can't do it. And the same thing happened down here. You see, it's coming all black over here. It's coming in pink on this side. And this has the same filters, the same, it's another lymph node. So what is happening there? Well, it's being invaded and killed by those toxins. So there's some kind of chemistry in that venom that probably explodes the cellular matrix. Somehow it has to kill the membrane. It would be interesting to know what the actual chemistry is that's coming in here and what the normal type of bacteria is that live in here to create the enzymes, so that this stuff could come out instead of black like this, it would come out pink after being cleaned up. And then the lymph nodes, there must be some bacteria that come in here and carry this garbage out of the lymph nodes down to the kidneys or feces or wherever they go. But this is the invasion of that toxin, and it killed all those lymph nodes. Pretty easy to see. All right, this is the lymph node, exactly what I just showed you in that creature's body. And it was invaded and being killed. It has valves going in that way, and then they have valves going out. So the bad, nasty stuff comes in one direction, gets cleaned up, and goes back out through the valves, the vein and artery, and cleaned up, and also through the lymph ducts, those bigger lymph ducts leading out. Ours were dead, so they were not spitting out any good lymph. All right, well, we know there's a mat of lymph ducts and little lymph tubes everywhere throughout the body. That fluid-filled hardware, it's everywhere through the body. This is supposed to clean it up, and I just showed you in an actual creature's body, it can be overwhelmed and it can be killed, and that's when they turn black. Okay, my friends, and I can guarantee you this has never been seen before by anybody. The lymphatic system reacting to invasion and collecting in that one spot and draining into the lymph nodes, not being able to handle it, and dying. I guarantee you that's never been seen before. All right, we're going to start out with the shocker du jour, death of some lymph nodes. Okay, my friends, this is going to be about tattoos, and it might be good, it might be bad. I have no idea. All right, I don't know if I've shown you this or not. I've talked about the interstitial layer over and over and over. And this is the article from 2018, Meet Your Interstitium, Newfound Organ. This is when they just announced, yes, we're going to call this a new organ. Now, I was doing it from 2015, and I had all the exact same story, only I understand what it's doing here. It's the fluid-filled highway where all of the enzymes and all of the reactive proteins are. This is invadable. That's made to be, worn off, basically. It's the skin. Now, you get below that, this is the layer that says no. That's it, you're done. You can't come any further. Now, we know that people get poked all the time. You get a cut down there and you bleed out of this area. Normally you don't have much blood in your skin, but you bleed out of this area, it starts coming out, so you know you've passed that barrier. So what does have to happen? Because you got bugs in here now. As soon as you get through there, something's going to go with it, and it's going to get in here. Now, this fluid-filled highway is supposed to flush, and I mean flush this area and kill everything in there, carry it over to the lymph nodes, and it's out of the system. Well, as I showed you, or will show you, that venom was so invasive, the lymph, it migrated over to it, but it just couldn't deal with it. It killed it, and that was it. And it killed the lymph nodes that it went to. Now, I don't know where the lymph nodes are here. I don't see them. But they flow to them. They're only in certain places. You have a lot of them in your armpits, your groin, places like that, where you have a lot of biology going on. So you see what this looks like here. That's the highway right there. And every single organ, everything is coated with a membrane. Now, what does a membrane look really close? Right above this layer is your skin. That's the fluid-filled highway. Here it is right here. That's your skin, basically. That's how many layers of skin you got. You don't realize it. Now, when they put the tattoos in, I would think they're supposed to be putting it only into here and not getting down into the fluid-filled highway. So in other words, this is a real close blow-up. This is not so bad. They can come down through here, I guess. I'm just guessing now. I'm not an expert here by any means at this particular thing. However, if it gets into this layer, then it's fluid, and then it goes around the body, and then it's whatever that chemistry is. If something here sees it as it's not supposed to be there, and it's not supposed to be there. It's just not supposed to be there. So something is going to say, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Let's go get that thing out. And if it's just too hard to get out of there, it will probably just keep trying. They say it surrounds it. That might happen. I don't know. If that's the case, well, then there's no issue. But I think it deserves a good look. There's just too many people have these things now, and they are not something that, tomorrow you're just going to fall over. However, we need to be ahead of the curve on this. If there's something we can do, and I know there is, because you're only dealing with chemistry. And normally you have bacteria that creates these very, very exotic enzymes that go and attack literally anything. But you have to have the right enzyme. And if you can figure out what bacteria creates what enzyme, and that enzyme breaks down this particular thing that's collecting on liver, then you make sure the guy's got plenty of that enzyme or proteins, and it will hopefully eliminate that stuff out. That would be the way to deal with it, I would think. If there's going to be a problem. Maybe there's no problem at all. I'm just trying to think ahead. I always try to think about it. That's all. I'm just thinking about it. Okay, I got called away a couple times. I'm not sure I showed you this, but I want to be certain. If I did, you're going to see it again. Now, they're doing the tattoo research primarily focusing on health risks. Possible cancers, lymphoma, which is cancer, and particles accumulating in lymph nodes where they're supposed to be cleaned up. I know I've shown you this in extreme detail. And it can trigger chronic inflammation with the immune system, because that is where you're in that lymph is where your immune system is. And you're poking these things right down into that layer almost. And it's seeing it as invasion, I'm quite sure. And I looked at some of this in extremely slow motion, and it's gruesome. But anyway, the research is ongoing, requires further studies. And if there's any causal relationship and understanding exact mechanisms, and if there is a problem, maybe we can intervene. But you got to look at it, you got to start thinking ahead of the issue. Now, we need to know about ink composition and the safety of those different inks versus the tissues and the different tissues, because your body has different tissues everywhere. And if it gets into your your fluid-filled highway, it can go anywhere. So we have to know the allergens, carcinogens, anything about what you're putting in your body. I mean, really, you're putting it right in where it's the immune system. Your immune response to the ink. What does your body do? Does it think it's invading you? Is it long-term inflammation or skin cancer and tattoos? They're looking into that. Psychological impact of tattoos. Well, people seem to like them. Recent findings, tattoo research, potential link to lymphoma. They're looking into that because apparently they're finding some of that. Now, is it related to this? Is there anything we can do if it is related? Concerns about lymph node involvement. The lymph nodes apparently cannot process some of this stuff. Maybe it's too big. I don't know. Of course, they need further research, obviously, because they probably haven't done much. What are your thoughts about the Swedish study linking tattoos to whatever? They claim a 21% increase in lymph node cancer. Well, that's their study, and that's Sweden. I don't have any other information other than just what we saw there.